Hello and welcome to another episode of Two Chicks One Show, the show where usually we break down episode of a currently airing series, an episode a week. But as you have noticed over the last few months, we have shifted gears because the X-Files is coming back in January. So we decided to go back in time to the early and mid '90s, and we're actually making our way into the late '90s now to talk about the X-Files from the beginning. So we're doing a season at a time. We are all the way up to season 6 now. Lots of crazy stuff is going on. After last season and the first movie, Fight the Future, the X-Files were closed down, set on fire. Mulder and Scully were taken off of the X-Files and sent into the domestic terrorism unit. And then at the end of the movie, the X-Files are reopened, but they are not on it. Instead, it is Agent Fowley and Agent Spender who have taken over the X-Files, and they are not really up to the challenge. So this season, we find out whether or not Mulder and Scully can still investigate the conspiracy that threatens the planet, even when they're not on the X-Files. And it's a weird season.
It is a weird season. And Spender's definitely not up to the X-Files because he literally just shreds the papers.
Yeah, he doesn't care. Now, one thing that we should point out about the show, if you haven't been watching since we started the X-Files, the reason we're doing this is in part because the X-Files is coming back, and also partly because Kait has never seen it before.
No.
I am a huge X-Files fan. I've seen every episode multiple times. In a lot of ways, I can recite the titles. It's a little bit scary sometimes. She's never seen it. It's weird. But we're getting her first reactions to some of these episodes that have been around for more than 20 years. These more than 16 years. So my question, Kait, what did you think of season 6?
I mean, definitely hands down season 5, I think, will forever be my favorite season.
Yeah.
This season is fun. It's weird. It's a lot of weird one-off episodes. There's a lot of hardcore shipping between Mulder and Scully going on, which I know hardcore fans love. I don't know if I'm like 100% like I want them to be together, or I like the fact that there's just like this awkward sexual tension like all the time.
Well, that's the interesting thing about the X-Files is that, and I think we've said this in previous shows, is that while there's a lot of chemistry there and the sexual tension is really obvious, you never really care whether or not they get together.
Yeah, because I feel like they're just already together.
Yeah, like it doesn't, it's not going to change anything. They're just going to be more kissing. Like, and you don't need that. That's one of the things I always thought was interesting about the show is that as much as I totally ship them, I'm a humongous Mulder Scully shipper. And in fact, the X-Files is where the term shipper originated. I never really needed them to be together.
Yeah.
And it was never a drag on the show that they weren't.
Yeah, because like I feel like Mulder just doesn't care like about a relationship. There's moments where Scully like is like, oh, wasting my life doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But like I just think there's not like this hardcore romantic need within the series. So I'm not like every week I'm like, oh my God, is this going to be the week that well, not even week, I'm binge watching it. So every episode, I'm not like, oh my God, is this the episode where they're going to finally kiss?
Right. So. You're never worried about whether or not they're together.
Yeah.
It's never really a concern because they have this really strong relationship that's like outside of it being a sexual relationship. They have a really strong emotional relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Which I really liked. I've always liked. Now, one of the things you pointed out about the season is that it's weird.
Yes.
This is definitely, I think, the weirdest season of at least of the ones that aren't late in the show. Like season 8 and 9 are weird because they're different. But season 6 is the one where they were just kind of like, screw it, we're having fun.
Yeah.
Very much, very quickly. And there actually aren't a lot of mythology episodes. I think there are 4, maybe 5, like specifically mythology episodes.
Maybe 4.
I think there's 5 because there's the first episode and the last episode. There's the 2-parter in the middle. One son, the father and one son, or one son, 2 fathers, or something like that. And then there's SR 819, which is the Skinner.
Yes.
One, and that one is a mythology episode.
Yeah.
Technically.
So there's 5.
There's 5. But every other episode is a really interesting monster of the week. So I think we should start with those.
Sure.
Because they're the most interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot. I love almost every monster of the week episode in this season, except like maybe 2 of them, because I think they're all really interesting.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
But at the same time, the episodes themselves, and they actually they play around with like format and things more this season than I think they did in any other season. And I think the biggest indicator of that is the episode Triangle, which is probably my favorite episode of any episode in the X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, for those of you who might not know all the episodes by title, is the episode where Mulder goes on to, he finds this boat that's been missing in a Devil's Triangle, like the Bermuda Triangle, and he ends up in 1941 on this boat with some Nazis and some other people, and all
I believe
the people,
it was the Queen Anne.
possibly.
I think that was the boat's name.
That sounds familiar. The Queen Anne. Yeah, I think you're right. So he ends up on this boat, and it's sort of like it's their Wizard of Oz episode.
Yeah, and just so everyone does know, Mulder still found ways to investigate X-Files without actually being in charge of X-Files.
Oh, most definitely. In a lot of really interesting ways, and sometimes with really dire consequences.
Yeah.
The Triangle, I think, is one of the most interesting episodes of the show, not just because it's really fun. I think the Wizard of Oz format works no matter where they put it, like in any show that does and you were there and you were there sort of episode, it works. But also because the episode is shot in 4 really long takes,
mm-hmm.
which I love.
It was just a fun episode. It was out there. Mulder is on this investigation thanks to the lone gunman who give him the coordinates. He just hops on a boat, and then they get Scully involved. And like you could start telling it's going to be one of the more comical episodes when Scully becomes like really flustered at work, and she starts running around and yelling at people and like
almost falling on her face.
Yeah. Didn't she actually fall?
No. She slips running out of the X-Files office, catches herself, and keeps going because they didn't want to start the takeover. Because it had been so long. Like, that's about halfway through a 14-minute take.
Yeah. Because that's when she's just, like, continuously, like, going up and down all over the place in the FBI, the J. Hoover building.
The J. Hoover building. That episode, I didn't notice the first time I saw it that it was done in 4 takes.
I didn't notice either because you told me.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people...
I'm a little ashamed that I didn't realize that.
I was ashamed that I didn't realize it either. And the next time I watched it, I was like, holy crap, they actually haven't cut away. And the only reason it's 4 takes instead of 3 is because the last scene is 2 different shots. But it's the same shot that overlaps. Where they do them mirrored to each other. And I guess it's more than 4 shots because the tag is another shot. But yeah, I love that episode because it's just so much fun. And it's the first, is it the first time they kiss?
Well, yeah, I guess. But
because it wasn't
like
every
really
time
Scully
doesn't remember.
Yeah, but it wasn't Scully, it was
Right, I know. It was just Mulder and past Scully.
Queen Anne Scully.
OSS Officer Scully.
She's gonna punch him in the kisser or something like that.
That was a really good shot where he kisses her and then she breaks it off, punches him in the face, and then it's just like
and he was like, I wouldn't have it any other way, or something like that. He says something corny like that. You're like, oh.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, so I love that episode because it's fun. Then, of course, if we go back an episode, there's Drive, which I think is a really good episode because it's, first of all, Bryan Cranston, which a lot of people now, if they're watching it, are like, oh my God, Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, but before they're like, oh, that guy.
Yeah, oh, that guy from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, the dad from Malcolm in the Middle. That doesn't...
That one's really good because there's no...
I also want to point out, it's kind of random, but they do, in season 6, I've noticed, They repeatedly say we have to fight the future several times.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of pretty comical. I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, there you go. It's
Yeah,
our
they do
turn to
that a lot.
fight the future. And I'm
They
like,
do
oh
that
my
a lot.
God.
After the movie, which was sort of titled Fight the Future. I don't even know if that was its original title. Like
That's what it is
the
on
X-Files, like,
IMDb.
on IMDb and on the like the DVD when you buy it, it's the X-Files Fight the Future.
Maybe they named it after season 6. They're like, oh, maybe we should call that movie Fight the Future now.
But yeah, so like Drive is a really good one because there's no like real villain necessarily. It's the first one of the Mulder wants to find a way to investigate X-Files when he's not on the X-Files and the guy ends up dying.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one. And then we get to Dreamland, which I think a lot of people like. I really like it. I think it's fun and weird and out there. But I don't know if you like it or not. It's the body swap episode, so
I mean, it's like X-Files Freaky Friday
yeah.
kind of crap. Like, it's a cool concept. I don't think it needed to be a to be continued episode. I think they could have wrapped it up all in one.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they achieved their goal. That guy, I don't remember what his name was. I feel like I should because the wife just yelled the name the whole entire time. That actor that played that guy is really annoying. So I could care less.
See, I like him. I mean, he always plays similar characters.
Yeah. So I'm just
but it's Michael McKean, by the way, and the character is Morris Fletcher. But he always plays similar characters, but I always like them because they're sort of jovial assholes.
Yeah.
And he pulls it off really well.
Mm-hmm.
I think he always does. So I don't know. I like the episodes. I like body swap episodes when they're done well. This wasn't so much a body swap episode in that you didn't see very much of the two actors like swapping,
like talking to, like dealing with each other.
Not necessarily dealing with each other, but you didn't see them acting as the other person.
Oh no, they acted as themselves.
They were themselves,
yeah.
But like we were meant to realize that like no one saw those people as themselves. Mm-hmm. So it was a different way of doing that sort of standard episode, the body swap episode, which is always more fun when you see people trying to act like each other. I think it's always more fun to actually like witness the body swap, but that's me. I don't think a lot of shows do it really successfully. I don't know if this was like the best, success in that manner, but it was funny. I did think it was a funny dual episode. And Morris Fletcher ends up coming back in a later episode and ends up going on to hang out with the lone gunman in their TV series. So and then there were it's weird. Like, it seems to me like the first half of season 6 has a lot of the more bizarre, fun episodes. You have Triangle and Dreamland and How the Ghost Stole Christmas, and
that might be. I think that's my favorite of the season.
I think that's a lot of people's favorite of the season. It's never been mine because I don't ever really care that much for Christmas themed episodes.
But it was Christmas, but it was like cryptic. I'm a ghost person. I like ghosts, themed.
I like ghosts. I like the conversations that they had.
I thought it was funny.
I always thought those were fun.
Yeah.
And you can't hate an episode with Ed Asner and Lily Tomlin.
Yeah.
Because they're just so great.
They were fabulous in the episode. They were hilarious. And
they're always fabulous.
It was a good episode.
It is. I think it is a good episode. I like it. It's just never going to be my favorite of the season.
What's your favorite of the season then?
Triangle. It's my favorite of the whole series.
The whole series.
The whole series.
Triangle.
Triangle is my favorite. I think I've seen it the most of any of the episodes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it because Mulder kisses Queen and Scully?
It's a little bit because of that, but mostly it's because I think it's a fun episode and I like the mechanics of it, the single shots and stuff.
Okay.
I also weirdly I like a lot of the episodes in this season because of their stories. Like I like Monday.
Yeah.
But anyway, so as I was saying, the beginning of the season seems to have a lot of the more bizarre, like quirky episodes, and then the second half of the season seems to have more of the serious.
Yeah, they're not
content
as
of the week.
fun.
They're not as fun. Like there's pretty much only one fun episode after Two Fathers, One Son, which is Arcadia, which is we're back on the X-Files finally, and Mulder and Scully are going for their first case. They're going undercover in a development in like a gated community.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one is fun. I also think Unnatural is kind of fun.
Yeah, The Unnatural is kind of fun. It's more
It's
of the
not
laid
as
back.
serious as like Trevor or Monday.
Yeah, I mean, well, Monday is Mulder dies over and over and over and over and over again,
Yeah.
and his waterbed sprung a leak.
The waterbed that what's
That
his
Fletcher
face?
bought.
Fletcher got him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean there are some like they're not all super serious, but they're certainly not as out there and fun as as like The Rain King.
that was weird.
I think The Rain King is fun. Um, I think everybody likes Monday. It's the day repeats over and over again episode.
And that do you know whose daughter that is that ends up saving the day / becoming the victim?
The one who is the only one
The
that
girlfriend,
realizes.
yeah.
Um,
Are you gonna look it up? So now you can.
I was gonna look it up. Uh,
You don't want to not know.
I don't want to not know.
Do you want me to tell you?
Yes, just tell me.
It's a Carol Burnett's daughter.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. I'm gonna have to go rewatch.
The only reason I know that is because I watched it with my dad and he told me. But
That's funny.
Mhm.
She also died a few years later, just to
Yeah,
bring
she
it all down.
yeah, I didn't want to go there, but
I
since you
did. I went there. I always go there. I was on her IMDb page. What can I do?
what can I do?
um,
IMDb.
I can't help it. It just spouts out of my mouth. Um, yeah. So season 6 is sort of all over the place as a season.
Mhm.
It's a lot of Monster of the Week. There's just not a lot of a long thread line. And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but it definitely doesn't bind the season together in the same way that, you get that feeling from season 4 or 5,
Mhm.
where they're all obviously sort of leading in this one direction, and all of the episodes have sort of a similar feel. Season 6 is just sort of scattershot.
Yep.
Um,
It's just random, and then like in the middle of the season, you have like that big mythology arc where Cassandra comes back. Then you have to deal with that, and then Spender's pissed off at Smoking Man, and then they find out Smoking Man's name, but it's just a bunch of letters. It's not really a name. Yeah, and then you find out Cassandra's the only like patient number 1, and she's the perfect half alien, half human hybrid. And if they don't kill her, then colonization's gonna happen, or they could just give over Cassandra, and then colonization will happen. But like the select few that are in the 42nd Street apartment in New York City will survive with their families. So it was just weird, and then it ends with Smoking Man killing his own son because he wasn't as good as Mulder.
Yep, basically.
Pretty much. Shoots him in Fox Mulder's old office,
and
then no one ever talks about it again.
Yep, pretty much.
It's just no one. I don't know who cleaned up the body. I don't know if Cassandra knows. What happened to Cassandra?
You don't ever find out.
She just like that. That's the kind of stuff that annoys me.
Poof.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of poof that happens toward the end, because I don't think they knew really where they were going with some of these characters.
Yeah. And so then, since Smoking Man is so disappointed that his son wasn't loyal to him like Fox was loyal to his father, he like turns to Diana / Mulder's ex-lover / yeah. And like now she's working with Cigarette Man, and it's just like, oh my god, it's just too much.
Yeah, the mythology episodes aren't very strong.
No, they're not nearly as good as the ones that are just, the Monsters of the Week one-offs.
Yeah, I mean, overall for the series, the Monsters of the Week episodes are always stronger.
Mm-hmm.
They're just better told stories. There's a lot of comparison between the X-Files and Fringe, because they're similar-ish. Where but that's the thing that I always talk about that sets the two series apart from each other. It's that the X-Files was always better at the Monsters of the Week, and the
Mm-hmm.
mythology wasn't something they initially intended to do. It just sort of happened, and then they kept it going, and they did a decent job with it, but they didn't really pay it off the way that they could have if that was the plan all along. Whereas Fringe does the exact opposite. Their Monster of the Week episodes in the first season are not very good, but their mythology episodes are very good, so that they realized by the end of the first season, and they doubled down on the mythology, and they did the mythology really well, and then they had an extra season that they shouldn't have had. No, they shouldn't have. Both the X-Files and Fringe should have been canceled well in advance of when they were, but they both would have been better off for it.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's one of the things that people talk about the X-Files, and they say they don't really like the mythology, and I'm like, yeah, but they're not the best episodes. It's just what everybody knows it for is the alien stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't really, besides the mythology episodes, there wasn't really a lot of alien talk in this
Yeah,
season.
there's not a lot of alien stuff in this season. Besides, outside of the mythology, there's just Field Trip, which isn't even really aliens. It just has a little bit to do with aliens.
They think it's aliens, but then it's really mushrooms. I don't know.
Yeah, there's Field Trip and Dreamland that do anything alien, and neither of them are actually about
You
aliens.
mean Dreamland? Oh, well, Unnatural has aliens.
Unnatural is aliens. Yeah, the baseball player is actually an alien.
I like that one. That was cute.
I like that one. It grew on me. I hated it originally because it's so outside of the regular storyline that I didn't care about it.
Yeah.
But then after a couple more viewings, I was like, no, this is actually a good episode. It's interesting. Plus, all the Mulder Scully stuff is really fun. I scream, you scream, we all scream for non-fat to foodie rice dreamsicle.
Yes.
You love it. So as for the mythology episodes, we talked about it a little bit, but sort of the general arc of these 5 episodes is that we come back with the continuation of where we left off. Actually, at the end of season 5, the events of the movie happened in between, but it more has to do with the end. The beginning has more to do with the end than it does the movie, where we see what actually happens when the alien creature grows inside a human, which was happening in the movie. So if you didn't see the movie, you were very confused as to why there were giant aliens jumping out of people's bodies.
Yeah.
But we also learn more about the kid. He
Mm-hmm.
comes back, and that's when you get more Fowley and Svender stuff. And then, as we've already talked about, Cassandra Spender comes back. CGB Spender is the actual name of the cigarette smoking man, and literally no one will call him that ever again.
Huh.
Because it's not as catchy a name as cigarette smoking man or CSM. And then at the very, very, very end, Biogenesis is the episode that we end on, and it catapults our hero once again. You don't know whether Mulder can survive.
I feel like every season finale is is Mulder dead?
Is Mulder dead? Or, oh, the X-Files are on fire.
Yeah.
It's really the only options that you have. Just wait until next season.
When does Mulder leave?
Next season.
At the end of 7?
At the end of 7.
Oh, God. And then I have to watch Alcide's dad?
Yes. You do. So this season ends with Mulder. There's a artifact with writing on it, and it basically drives Mulder nuts.
I don't get it. Why? I've already started season 7.
Yeah, because you're horrible.
So, yeah. because I used to wait, and then sometimes it would be like days, and then I would be like, oh man, then I fell behind.
Yeah.
So I just started watching it. This is probably the weirdest part of the mythology to me.
Yeah,
Like
it's not gonna be the weirdest part of the mythology because trust me, there's some weird mythology coming, but
where like just the string of the first, like from the finale of season 6 to like the first two, I think it's the first two
first two,
episodes
yep. The 66
of,
seasons parts 1 and 2.
yeah, and I'm just like, this is just, it's just bizarre,
Very bizarre.
and there's like no like conclusion.
No, there's not really. This is when they sort of throw all in with the mythology. Like, I mean, we can talk a little bit about the Sixth Extinction, I guess, before we do the season 7 episode. But, like, you learn more about these aliens, and like, you find out that these aliens have had influence on humanity for millennia. Because, like, on the ship thing that they find at the end of this episode, the end of Biogenesis, I think.
Yeah,
The
Scully
ship thing
goes
that washes
to,
up on the shore in Africa, um, she finds passages from the Bible. Like, I think
yeah,
she
I
found
mean,
the book of Genesis.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. They bring back the Native American chief guy,
Mm-hmm.
and I like him. I always like that character because it was the ship written in Navajo symbols, I think, the Navajo alphabet. So they were having him translate it,
Mm-hmm.
but then he got sick, so he couldn't translate it. And there's like she finds the book of Genesis on there, then there's like stuff from,
She finds stuff from the Bhagavad Gita, I think.
yeah, and the Quran, and it's just, and then it's like the human
Human genome is on there.
yeah, human genome. So then they're starting to believe that the aliens gave us all these stories or tales, and that we're actually aliens, or
We're
the
a
aliens put
creation
us
of
here.
aliens, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just, it was just a bit much. And I think what I just don't get is that why The Rock made Mulder crazy. Like, why did seeing just an image of it make him
Yeah,
go loco?
I wish I had an answer. I don't.
Do we,
So,
is there an answer ever? Or just,
not yet.
I mean, like, you don't, like, you know, and I just don't know, or
No,
there's
like,
just
I have no
no.
idea why The Rock made Mulder go
Okay.
logo. Yeah, I have no idea.
Alright.
I just know that it did because it was necessary for all the stuff to happen.
Sure.
No, I'm really not sure. I mean, I guess I know more things about Mulder and like what happens to him in the future than you do, but
Yeah.
and it offers like theories, it offers evidence that you could use to form a theory on why that is, but you don't get any straight answers. That's a lot of things. Like, you're not going to get a lot of straight answers about things. You'll get some, but not all.
Okay.
So you should start getting used to not getting all the answers.
Okay.
We're starting to wrap up. We're in the last third.
Yeah, I mean, like, Mulder's leaving at the end of this season, so.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So much.
Yeah, there's a lot, and then we'll see how you like seasons 8 and 9. But um, I don't think they're bad. They're just very different.
Mhm.
So anyway, so that is season 6. Now, of course, I want to know, because this is your first time watching it and you already know what mine is, what's your favorite episode of the season?
How the Ghost Stole Christmas.
Oh, the Ghost of Christmas. Okay. What's your least favorite episode of the season?
Probably Trevor. Just didn't care.
Yeah,
I know
I don't think I cared about Trevor either. It's very forgettable.
I mean, I know it's like awful because it's like about a little kid and stuff, but I just didn't care.
No,
So
I didn't either, honestly.
yeah.
Can you hear that? Because my cat's going nuts in my apartment. No, I don't really care about that one, and I didn't care about Alpha either, which is the dog. one.
Oh yeah, that was weird. That was a weird one.
There are a couple episodes we haven't talked about that I do want to bring up before we wrap up. The first one is Milagro.
I liked that one.
It was a very, I don't want to say sexual.
No, it was sexy.
It was definitely
it was sexy because you're like, I don't know if I should be. I'm weird, and I thought the author was kind of sexy, and I'm like, should I be attracted to him because he could be a killer? But I mean, Scully was. You lost audio. Hello.
Now.
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay, good. I just had to unplug my. Okay. He is sexy and you know, yeah, it's about an author, so maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it's sexy in the same way that like people find characters like Christian Grey sexy.
Yeah.
Did you know I was going there?
I figured as you started saying it that was where you were going, but
yeah, but it's like it's that mysterious, dangerous guy.
I mean, I guess I don't think he's anywhere as creepy as Christian Grey.
No, but he is at the same time.
He's creepy to like Scully.
Yeah.
But like I mean like if you were walking down the street and you encountered him like in a coffee shop, you would probably be intrigued by him and he wouldn't have been creepy.
I feel like it's the same for Christian Grey. Granted, I haven't read the book or seen the movie. I know nothing about it really.
No, like Christian Grey's just creepy.
Twilight, does that count?
I mean, Edward Cullen's creepy too.
Yeah, okay, but I got that same vibe from those characters, like, and Edward Cullen. Like, I got the same vibe, like the weird, always watching you. Like he's a nice guy, but in reality, like from the outside, he's obviously creepy.
Yeah, I mean, like socially awkward. Yeah, I guess I could see where you're going
with the comparison.
Yeah.
I like Milagro because, yeah, it's kind of a sexy episode. It's more sensual than it is sexual.
Yeah.
It's got, like, there's that scene in the elevator where he, like, zooms in on different parts of her face.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is part of where I get that because it's sort of like him noticing these little aspects of it. Creepy as all hell, though.
Yeah.
And the whole guy who rips out hearts and nearly happens to Scully and just...
Mm-hmm.
People like to try to kill Scully.
But there was like a cool moment though for I think shippers. Did you catch it?
Cool moment?
Like,
the one where he says that the thing about her heart already belonging to somebody or something.
Yeah, he like says something where basically this guy admits that he's been like stalking Scully.
Oh yeah, he totally does.
And like in hopes to like her falling in love with him. And Mulder, of course, automatically assumes that he's a killer.
Right.
So he's locked up.
The whole time you're led to believe it's jealousy.
Yeah. And so he's locked up. And I guess Mulder starts like aggressively questioning him. And for some odd reason, Scully's kind of, well, not, I guess she's intrigued by him. So she doesn't really believe that he's the murderer. And she's kind of a little defensive of this guy, even though he's been blatantly creepy towards her.
Creeptastic.
Yeah, she's still like very intrigued by him. And she goes for a second and she like stops Mulder from like getting closer to the author. And he goes, "Oh, I've completely misjudged your character to Scully. Your heart already belongs to another." And then you're like, "Oh, does he mean Mulder?" And I thought that was cool.
I remember the line now, and it's that something about, of course, it's not about Agent Scully, or it couldn't be because Agent Scully is already in love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's always a good moment for shippers. Is that you always like the third party character pointing out that your ship is in love with each other. Always fun. So I really like that episode because it's so creepy in a real world kind of way.
Yeah, but it's creepy and it's so weird, and I shouldn't. But it's like creepy in a very sexy way.
Oh, it's definitely creepy in a sexy way. I'm right there with you. You don't have to be weird about that. It's definitely right there with you. The other one that I wanted to bring up was Tithonus, which is the one about.
I don't know all their names.
What?
I don't know all their names.
I know, which is why I'm saying it. Also, I assume that our viewers/listeners have no idea what I'm talking about when I just say titles. Tithonus is the one where Scully gets paired up with a different agent to investigate the crime photographer who he always seems to show up before the person is killed, and then he shows up afterwards to do the crime scene photography. And find out that it's because he can see when a person is going to die.
So they just turn gray.
Yeah. They turn black and white, essentially. Yeah. So he follows them until they die, and his hope is that he's going to see death, and that death will finally take him, because he hasn't been able to die for like a century.
Yeah.
At one point, like, the whole thing is like when you see death, then death takes you. And he closed his eyes when death showed up, and he wasn't taken, and now he's stuck.
I want to do that.
Someone else. The whole thing was like he closed his eyes, death didn't take him, it took the person next to him, and now he can't die because his death has passed, essentially.
I mean, like, if that was real, everyone would still be alive.
Right. It's a really weird concept, but I like it for one reason. I mean, one of them is that Scully gets shot at the end of the episode, and Mulder gets really pissed off at her partner.
Yeah.
Which is always fun. Shiver. But yeah, the other is that there's this callback that you sort of pick up when you are a psycho like me, and when you spent some time on X-Files message boards in the late 2000s. But so in season 3, in Clyde Bruckman's final repose,
okay,
she asks him, "Okay, tell me how I died." And he's tell me how I die, and he says, "You don't." So there's this theory that in Tithonus, or Tithonus, whatever it is, Scully gets shot. He sees her in black and white, takes a picture, and then he goes to take a picture, and then he turns and sees death, and he dies, and Scully gets to live. So there's a theory that now she is never going to die.
I mean,
because her death passed to somebody else, just like his did. It's never been confirmed or denied by Chris Carter, but it's an interesting theory.
Because what probably happened, he was like, "Oh, that's like the fans probably figured it out," and he's like, "That's genius. I'm just gonna pretend like I figured that one out."
I'm sure, but at the same time, like they wouldn't make specific mention of what happened, because there's also a moment at the end of the episode where like Mulder says like you should have died.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. I mean, it never really comes back. Like there aren't any other situations where like Scully should have died and then didn't ever again. But I always like that theory because it's like the epitome of the super nerd to figure that out.
I mean, yeah, I would have never thought of that, but I mean, I've done that kind of stuff with Game of Thrones, so I mean, I guess whatever's
you have like 12 running theories about Jon Snow.
I mean, I have one solid theory that I believe, but
there's like other backup theories just in case.
Yeah, but they're all stupid. My theory is better.
Okay. On that note, I think we should wrap things up. Anything else you want to say about season 6?
Yeah.
No? All right. Well, season 7 will pick up as soon as Kait is completed watching season 7. Obviously, you've already started. Season 7 is a weird one. We find out whether or not Mulder can survive the crazy insanity-inducing rocks. Among a number of other strange things that happen in season 7. We will pick that up soon. Be on the lookout for that episode. We'll have a date to figure it out. In the meantime, comment with your thoughts on season 6 and your favorite / least favorite episode, and whether or not you think Scully can ever die, and because I am. And you can catch all things X Files and a number of other things at On2Me. Feel free to send us your thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, theories, whatever you would like, to our Twitter handles. I'm at Tricia Ennis. She is at Kait Calabro. Kait, say something so they can see your thing again. That's her. Hashtag 2Chicks1Show. To send us your comments, and we love to hear them. It's always fun to hear other people. You can't specifically hear it now. And we will be back soon. So we will see them.
Adios.